Hello, hello. Hopefully I am live and I have sorted what I wanted to sort, and you can see me and you can hear me and all of those things. So do drop in the chat if you can hear me. That's always a good start. Really. I am live. Oh gosh, and I have obviously sorted what I wanted to sort, and I had YouTube open on in the background. Oh my word. Right, okay, well, there's a time lag and I am live. Marvellous. If you're watching live, if you're subscribed to my channel, you are very welcome to join in the chat and ask any questions while I sketch along. So do pop in the chat, say hi. Good evening from Sussex. Oh, hi, Andy. You're back in the UK. Marvellous. It's been a lovely day over here in France. It's been so warm. It's been gorgeous. And of course, I've been getting high as a kite on varnishing fumes. Marvellous. It is in a well-vented area, I hasten to add. So it's been a great day. Now then, we are going to sketch today a little bunny rabbit, because I thought it's nearly Easter, so why not? And in the Smart Art Academy, hello from Cape Town. Oh, hi Vanessa, yay. Great to see people from all over the world, that's awesome. So we now have 3 countries if you include France. So yes, back to it. I'm going to do a bunny rabbit. In the Smart Art Academy at the moment, we're looking at still life, so how to set up a still life and all that sort of things. But interestingly, still life in France is called la nature morte, which basically means dead nature. Not sure how I feel about that. But a lot of the old masters and the still lifes that are just stunning, a lot of them had creatures in. So furry animals, etc. And they were taxidermied, which I suspect is where we get the expression la nature morte, rather than still life. It's dead life. So I'm going with the still life. However, I did not want to get a bunny rabbit and stick it in my light box, because that's not really fair. Bunny rabbits don't exactly sit still. My cat often sleeps in my light box, but currently we have a rabbit. So what I have done is I've liberated my daughter's toy rabbit on the basis that she's now in her 20s. She's left it in the house. I don't know why I still got it, to be honest, but I have. And it's quite cute. But what it does do is it gives us that opportunity to play with fur a little bit. And as you can tell by my lion, oh gosh, now I've got to point, do like a bit of fur. So we're going to be looking at sketching in mixed media, because basically I haven't really prepped as to what I'm going to use. So I have some pencils. I have a 2B and a 6B pencil. I need them quite dark for you to be able to see them on the screen, so they may or may not get used. I also have some charcoal, willow charcoal. I have some compressed charcoal. May not use charcoal too much, because I also have my little travelling gouache palette. And I do like gouache, so we might do some mixed media with gouache on top. And I have my trusty fine liners, which I do tend to use for all sorts of things. And today I'm going to be working on white paper, because it was the nearest paper to hand. My tinted paper is in my art bag, because I was at life class last night, so I was life drawing, and I do like to do that on tinted paper. So let me show you what we are going to be drawing. Let me pop on my cam link and then I can show you. Oh, that's a piece of paper. Let me move this over here. That's my little bunny, or rather my daughter's little bunny. I have something in the way there. Let me move that out of the way. So that is what we're going to have a go at drawing. She's quite cute, isn't she, really? Let me move back to my piece of paper. I will pop my circle camera on, then I can talk to you, because I like to be able to see what I'm doing and wave my arms around and things. I also took a photograph of the bunny in my light box, so that you can see roughly what I can see. It's not quite the same because I'm just turning on the light. Obviously my viewpoint is different. I did try and hold the camera up to where my eyes are looking. Cameras always see things slightly differently, and that's why I like still life quite as much and drawing from life quite so much. Simply because, let me adjust my light, then you can see my sketching area. Simply because it's really good observation. And that's why I really like drawing from life where possible. It's not always possible. I quite often do children, dogs, things like that, pet portraits, always a photo. Doing that from life is just not possible. I'm just going to sketch now where the boundaries are, for the camera, so that I know that when I'm sketching, I am not going to go whizzing off in a place where you can't see. So I know that you can see that. And to be honest, whenever I'm doing any sketching, I like to start with kind of a boundary. So I know that my painting, my picture, wants to sit inside this boundary. And the other thing I've been looking at while we've been doing still life in the Smart Art Academy is the looking at negative space. So a lot of old masters like Caravaggio and a variety of others really used a lot of negative space, of empty space around the place to kind of really make their still lives pop. There'll be lots of dark or light space around them. So I'm starting, as I start anything, I'm just sketching briefly out my shape. So I'm just going to do a little bit of measuring, and we are pretty much square. So let's see how a square fits in there. I might do this slightly smaller actually. Where's my eraser? There we go. I'm going to do this slightly smaller because I want to see what it looks like with a bit of space. I've spent the last few months doing these lovely little mini oil paintings, which are awesome and I love them. Or should I? But they are very, very small. Actually, no, I will do it a bit bigger because then you can see it better. So I want it a square shape, and that includes the little carrot that's kind of sticking out here. So the carrot is my kind of edge area, and it doesn't go to halfway through. It goes to, actually nearly halfway. So that's nearly halfway through this area. It's all to do with looking and observing and kind of feeling the way around. That's why I love sketching and sketchbooks. You can kind of, it's an experiment and you can feel your way around the picture. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. I'm just kind of looking at shapes. There's kind of a carrot shape there. And like I say, I've got my square shape. So this is going to be the top of my bunny. And if I'm looking at, there's a bit of an angle to the top of the head. So I'm going to just pop that in. And like I say, with everything, it's just kind of observing where everything sits. So that front paw, and I know this is a toy rabbit, but essentially it's the same principles as if you were drawing a real rabbit or any real furred animal. You're looking at shadow shapes, you're looking at just basically moving in the when we get to doing the fur shapes, we'll be moving in the direction of the fur the whole time, which is how I draw pet portraits and animals as well. Now this ear is distinctly higher than the other ear. We're on an angle. It's on that kind of an angle, so I want that ear to finish kind of there really. Because we're at a slight angle here and we've got this face. It is a very cute little bunny, this. I think it's very Easter-esque. And I think I understand why I've kept it. I imagine my daughter probably tried to throw it away on many occasions, and I've just kind of kept rescuing it. I like the fact it's got a cute wooden carrot, and the fact that it's got a little cage as well that it sits in. It's even got its own little brush. It's very adorable. So I'm just mapping out where everything goes, and I want to that's not in the right place at all. That needs to be kind of pretty much above the nose. I'm looking for comparative measurements. I'm looking for where do things sit. So that carrot is kind of there. We've got this area of the edge of the face. It's really difficult when you first start mapping these out. And this goes, I think, for everything. You kind of want to make things that you have an instinct to make things that you feel are important, like the facial features. This is the same with people as well. We tend to try and make those bigger than they actually are because we install importance to them. And so we do have a tendency to make them a little bit bigger than they actually are. And that's kind of normal. We all do it. Our brain is this amazing thing that kind of creates all sorts of little fibs. And then cameras do exactly the same in a different way. Right, I've kind of ish plotted out where this is all kind of a bit fluffy around here. Oh, we've got it doesn't look much like a rabbit at the moment, but trust me, it's all about process. I'm just kind of mapping out where my areas are. And then once I've got my areas kind of roughly mapped out, I'm going to go in and look at where are my dark areas, and I'm going to just put a little thing of pencil in where those darker areas are. So I'm squinting, we always squint, and at the moment no detail. I'm just looking at where are my darker areas, and I'm just going to pop a layer of graphite on those darker areas. So all this side here is darker. So I'm just going to put a layer of shadow on here. And this is all darker under, this is quite a lot darker under here, isn't it? So let's really put a little bit of pressure on and make that darker. We've got a little, the paw area there curving round. And in here, this separate bit here, this is really super dark. So I'm going to do a little bit of cross hatching here and make that quite a bit darker. And under the ear here is very dark as well. And it's the shading that gives you your shadow shapes. And this is what makes anything you do come to life. Shading is so important, as is weight. And when I say weight, when you start looking at various drawings, you'll see that where the weight of the drawing hits the ground, so where if you've got a person sat or something sat on the ground, it's because that's the core shadow, the area where the light doesn't touch at all. That gives gravitas to your drawings and your paintings. Other areas of shadow are simply that. In fact, I'm going to shade all this area in because this is all pretty much in a variety of shadow. There's a little bit of light on the edge of this ear because we've got reflected light coming in reflecting from the white of my light box. And then this is shadow here. Now, I'm not sure actually whether this is a good idea, putting this shadow in like this, because I may turn round and put some colour in. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Like I say, the sketching and drawing like this is all to do with experimenting. So we want to play. We don't need to actually be really super detailed. We want to have an experiment and see where it leads us. If you have any questions on anything I'm doing or saying, oh, pardon me, that was a bit of a frog in my throat, do pop it in the chat and I will be happy to answer. So I've got a bit of an idea. I've mapped out where my lights and darks are roughly. I've got an idea of what my shapes are. I know roughly which area is in shadow, as in this area, which is in the light. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a bit of blending, I think. I've got a piece of kitchen towel here. I have two pieces of kitchen towel. I'll put one down. And I'm just going to just gently blend my pencil. So blending basically means smushing. I'm going to smush my pencil and just soften all those lines so we don't have quite so much lines. I see this is where I like charcoal, because you can really get in and get some really lovely darks in charcoal and then pull out the lights. But what charcoal doesn't do well is, of course, mix with paint. You have to spray it first. And I do actually have my universal fixative here, because I thought, oh, I could do that and I'll just spray it while I'm live. However, my studio isn't overly well ventilated, and I have a sneaky suspicion if I do that, I could gas myself, and we don't want that. So I think I'm going to stick with pencil and maybe add a bit of pen. So what I'm going to do now is find the right pen. That's the one. This is a fine liner. It's a uni pen fine liner in a 0.2. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm squinting, and I just want to put, not necessarily lines, because we don't have lines per se in this drawing because it's fur, but I do want to get, so there's lots of sort of sketchy broken lines going on. I want to see where my darkest darks are, and I just want to put a little bit of pen where my darkest darks are. And I'm going to follow effectively what the fur is doing. So I'm looking at where my movements are, and this is what you would do if you were doing fur on an animal, a live animal, as well as, you know, not just a furry toy. You just kind of want to create an idea of movement. So what you don't want to do is fur that's straight. Let me move this out the way a minute and I'll show you what I mean. So what you don't want to do is lines that are straight, which is great for shading. It's not great for fur, because fur is like hair on your head. It's wavy, it's got kinks, it moves, it has movement. So you want to follow the basic direction of which way your fur is going, because that then indicates form. That helps give you an idea of, okay, there's a head or a paw or something. But you want it a bit higgledy-piggledy. You want to have that, like I say, that sense of movement. And so you want more of a scribbly effect, which is another reason why I love it, because practically all my drawings are very scribbly. It's just my style. Everybody has their own style. So I'm just going to, like I say, I'm squinting my eyes, and I'm just making sure I've got more lines present where I've got darker areas of fur. And I'm going to go over it with a little bit of eraser to pull out some highlights. I've got a real frog in my throat today. And then I'm also going to put on a little bit of gouache. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking at various ways where the fur on toys differs from the fur in real life, because it's all the same length. So there is a bit of a difference, but essentially it kind of behaves very similarly. So you'll notice on this side I'm going to be doing far more marks, because it's darker, it's in shadow. And when I hit the other side, I'm going to do far less marks. So I'm just going to follow this round. This is a lot lighter than even this bit under here. And this bit under here is sort of like a velvety bit, so we don't have the same fur effect. So I'm just going to shade that very gently and give it a different texture. Again, that's what is so wonderful about sketching, is you can really play with texture. I'm just going to put that in a little bit. That middle bit isn't quite as dark. And this bit is lighter and it kind of goes more near this muzzly area. It is a very cute little rabbit. And again, lots of little marks. This area under here isn't really very distinct when it comes to fur, so I'm just going to very quickly pop that in as a sorry, thinking and talking at the same time obviously is an issue for me today. Normally this is never an issue because I chat constantly, but today I'm obviously struggling. If you have questions, by the way, do ask them in the chat, because the thing about fur, and especially using a pen, is that I can quite cheerfully get very carried away. And we could be here all night. We won't be here all night, don't worry. But it takes time. What you're doing is you're mimicking, like I say, the fur, and I'm just like working in this shadowed area at the moment because I'm wanting to really make this stand out. And then we will go in with some lighter area things on this other side. So I just want to look at what have I got that's in shadow. And on this side it's great because you've got this lovely kind of movement coming off here. And it's looking at these shapes and mimicking the direction with the pen. And although this is very sort of soft, there's not much, you can't really see the fur in this white bit, so I'm not putting it in. See, that's the other key, I guess, is if you don't see it, don't draw it. Even if you know it's there. And this is a great one for when you're out sketching. If you go out with things like the urban sketches, or you're off in the gardens, or you're doing there's some buildings and things, or even actually trees. Oh, actually, yes, trees probably a better example. Because you know that they've got loads of leaves and things on, your instinct is to try and draw it all. But in reality, you can't see them. You don't see all the shapes of the leaves. You only see a really small part. And that's the key, is to just give an idea of leaves without actually drawing all the leaves. And Turner and Gainsborough were absolute kings at this, because what they would do is they would basically do a little leaf motif on the very edge of the tree that you could just, the bit that you can sticks out and you can kind of see it. And that is all your brain needs to kind of go, those are leaf shapes. I know this is a tree. They must all be leaves then. And it kind of fills in all the rest, which is pretty darned awesome. I'm now going to, in here it's quite dark, so I'm going to really darken this. I will be putting colour on. This will get more interesting, honestly. I'm just at the moment with my pen putting in where all these darks and lights are with a little bit of texture, and I'm kind of using scribbling to create my texture. But I'm kind of scribbling, if you can see, hopefully you'll notice, I'm scribbling kind of in the direction that all the fur is going in. So it's kind of mimicking the form of my little stuffed bunny. And like I say, at the moment it doesn't look much. The white fur is definitely very different. What we've got there, it's a little bit of a I'm not quite sure what's going on that paw, but I want to make sure that we've got a distinction, a different type of fur happening. So you can see it's kind of shorter. And again, and now I'm going in with that core shadow as well under there, because that's really important to get that super dark. Remember, this is a 0.02 pen, it's not a 5 or a 7, so we can go a lot darker if we want to, but I don't think I will, because what I want to do is, like I say, come over the top of this with some colour, I think. Mainly because that orange is so awesome that I really want to play with that. And this comes down a little bit further. And this is a super dark bit under here, just there we go. And then we've got this ear just at the end here as well. Let's get that in. And we'll start looking at putting some colour over the top and how we will do that, because we've also still got quite a lot of pencil here. So I'm going to be taking a lot of this pencil marks off. I'm just looking at how that fur is growing. Growing, it's not growing at all because this is a stuffed animal, but you know what I mean. Like I say, if you have any questions on anything really, technique or I don't know, can't think of anything else I could, anything else really, art related preferably, do drop it in the chat. I will endeavour to keep glancing up at the chat every now and again, and if there's anything in there I will, of course, you know me, answer it, because I like talking. Right, I think I've got a reasonable amount there. I'm going to just make sure that I've got the carrot in. Because that's quite important. I really love the colour of that carrot, so I just want to make sure I've got that in. Putting the lines around makes it feel like a Matisse, oh no, Cézanne is the one who likes all his lines around everything, isn't he, in a lot of his pieces. And again, I'm just looking at where are my darks, where are my lights, how is that felt folded. Let's get that so that we've got this nice top. There's a bit of shading. In fact, we've got a nice shaded bit at this end here, which is kind of coming round. Again, we want to make sure that we've got, I'm using contour lines to shade here because it's a circular object, so I want to sort of get the illusion of that turning, and that's what we get when we do contouring. And that little nose is almost disappearing, isn't it? Let's just get that over there. And when I was doing the eyes, you may not have noticed, but I did leave a little gap which we can erase to create a nice white. I'm just going to put a little bit of more shading over here, because that's not a white paw. It looks white, we know it's white, but it's actually in the shade. So we want it a little bit darker. Right, so I've got a rough idea of where my bunny is. And so now I want to maybe put a little bit of light in there. So remember we put a fair bit of pencil down for shadow. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more pencil, I think, before I start colouring. And I've just got, this is the 6B. And I'm going to go over the shadow, where that shadow is, and I'm going to go all over the shadowed side of the bunny, and under here, into that white paw a bit, over here as well, up, there's a little bit more shadow there. So I'm kind of just, I'll put a little bit on that carrot too. I'm just darkening this up. Now this may be a drastic mistake, we will find out. But what I'm wanting to do is to be able to then smush this a little bit more. Is that the right smushing tool? No, that's the right smushing tool. So that we don't have that, all the pencil lines. I want that nice and soft. And we can see the pen lines still, which is nice. So now that I've got that, what I can start doing now, this is where it gets a bit fun, is I've got a kneadable eraser. So this is a grey putty rubber. And I'm going to start just pulling out some lights. And this, I love doing this because this is what can really give all sorts of textures, and it makes it come alive. So I'm going to pull out some highlights. So we've got really white muzzle there, so I want to pull that out. And I want to pull out the fact we've got some white here on the fur, and this paw's got some white on it here too. And then we've got some white coming up on these bits of fur. So I'm kind of pulling that out. So I've got it in this, my eraser into a point, and I'm kind of using it to draw almost, and to pull out of that pencil. And because we've got the pen underneath, we've still got that really nice texture. And I can pull out the fact that I left a little bit of blank space in that eye to give an illusion of that little glint, which would normally be the glint of life, but in this instance it's the glint of glass. And I'm just going to pull out a little bit of light on my carrot as well, and also on the edge of this carrot here, because this is got some light here too. So now we've got a little bit of movement. I think this bit here is probably too light, isn't it? That's feeling a little bit weird. That light bit goes up there, but I might just darken that down a bit. Right, so now we've got, I might darken a little bit of that. We've got a bit of a bunny shape. Let's see what we can do with adding some colour. So this is my little palette, and I've got my water brush. Not sure how well it'll sit on there for you to see, probably not very. Let me move my rabbit over this way, you might be able to see a little bit more. So I've just got some red, actually, no, let me spray water on my palette first. Then I've got some, and it just loosens it up a bit. There we go. It just helps lubricate the paint a little bit. And like I say, if you have any questions, do pop them in the chat. I will endeavour to answer all questions, because I'm sure you must be sick of me rambling on. Right, I've just mixed a little bit of pink, and I'm going to put a little bit of pink on that nose because it's so cute. And dab some, that's excess water. Now this, the colour is going to mix in with the, gosh, brain's really not working today, the pencil. And because I'm using gouache, it's quite opaque, so it will go over the pen a bit as well, which does mean that you can go over. I'm just putting a bit more, I've put too much brown in there in its eyes. I'm just going to take that out a little bit, there we go. But it does mean that, you know, I've lost completely my train of thought. That sounds about right, doesn't it? yes, it does mean that you can go back over your pen lines with after your gouache has dried, because it will, like I say, it will go over those pen lines, as you can see on the carrot. And I have put yellow on this carrot. I'm going to go back over with a dark crimson, but I'm going to start my layering with just the yellow. The great thing about gouache is you can layer it, which is something I love doing. And I'm just going to glaze over some bright green on this felt as well. I'm not going to colour everything in, but I do want to just put a bit, like a little pop of colour. I'm going to just, again, dab that with my tissue, so then that just lightens it up a little bit. And I'm going to clean the green off my brush. So this is just a plain water brush, so to clean it I'm just squeezing a little bit and wiping the brush on my tissue to get all that green off, because what I want to do is put a little bit of a blue glaze. So I've got a bit of a, let me wipe that palette off actually, because I've got green and yellow and I don't want my blue turning green. I want that to stay blue. So I've got a little bit of a cerulean, which I think is similar to the kind of greyish that we've got here, and I want to have quite a lot of water in that, and I just want to do a light brush over, especially where we've got the shadows, because as we know, blue is a lovely cool colour, and you get warmer blues and cooler blues, but it's a nice shadow colour, and we want our shadows to turn and to bring form to our bunny, and so putting on blue really helps that. How are we all getting on? There's silence in the room. Not that I know you can speak because it's on YouTube, but like I said before, if you have any questions or there's anything that you're like, why on earth would you want to do that, Susan? What are you playing at? Do let me know, and I will endeavour to, like I say, answer. Because I will, this is the thing about sketching, the thing I love the most is that you can just kind of poodle and you can kind of, it goes forever. You can really take your time and enjoy. Ooh, that was yellow. I put my brush in the yellow. I meant to put it in the white. That's not quite what I intended to do. I'm going to put a very pale cream on these paws just to distinguish the fact that they are white. They're not the yellow, they're not the blue, it's a different colour fur. But also, of course, yellow bringing you forward because it's a lovely colour that it's a warm, very warm colour. So warm colours, as we know, bring things forward. So yellows, etc., are really good at bringing things forward, and blues and cools push things back, so it makes you it gives form to and structure to things. I'm putting a little bit of darker red on the nose. I have noticed your question, Andrew. I am going to get to it in a second. Let me read it. Having been working away, I am doing this with water mixable oil. Ooh, that's very good. That would be an excellent choice. Yes, water mixer. Do you know, I would love to see how you get on with water mixable oil. It's not something I've used because I use a lot of oil, but the water mixable is great for being portable too. So I'd love to see how you get on. If you're on any form of social media, do tag me with what you've done, because I love seeing what people do on these things. I've just added, on top of my yellow, I've added some red. and that's given this lovely orange colour, because I don't actually have an orange on my palette. If you're coming to the sketching workshops in Stony Stratford in 2 weeks' time, near Milton Keynes, you actually get and I'm looking for whether I have one to hand. Oh, I do. You get a little tin with some paints in. This one's well used. That's very well used. The one you get is new, but that has a really lovely bright orange in it, which I discovered. So you will get an orange in your little goodie bag if you're joining us over there. And I'm just putting in a little bit of a highlight, a white on top of this carrot. And you'll notice that the white isn't showing up as white. And that's because I'm using, like I say before, gouache. It will have to be an email picture, not a problem. Andy is in our sketching club, so you have access to emailing me. It will be great to see it. Social media is one of these. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Every now and again, I think I really do want to just get off it because it annoys me. You end up getting sucked into things that you're like, oh, I'm really not that interested in this. Why am I, still looking at cat videos? Or in my case, actually, to be fair, it's not cat videos. It's more likely to be something like paintings or varnishing. Or it's just like, no, I don't need to watch this. I need to, actually do my own things. But it's so easy to get caught up in it. But yes, with the gouache, it layers. So when you put on a colour, if you put on a light colour, it will dry darker, and a dark colour dries lighter. And also because it's water mixable, which you may find actually with your water mixable oils, it does mix with the layers below. So anything that like white that you put over the top is going to sink into the layers below it, and it's not going to show up as white initially. So what you have to do is layer up. So you would do one layer like I've just done there and wait till it's nearly dry, and then add another little white on top, and that becomes a little bit whiter. And each time you add a layer, it will get a little bit brighter. And so that's one way where you can do that. I'm just going to put a little bit of white over the top of this green to really, normally again, when I'm wanting a brighter green, I don't add white. White desaturates colour and it really tones it down. So normally I would use a yellow with my green. So if I put a yellow with my green, you get a much brighter green. And I'm looking at this here and I'm not altogether happy with that side of the mouth. I need to make sure there's no green on my brush though. So I'm going to wipe that until it's clean. I love these brushes. They are so good. They're great for just, if you're traveling, they are superb because you can just pop them in your bag and you can just use them for anything. Now that's gone a bit too dark, hasn't it? What can we do? Because that, although is in shadow, it's a lot lighter than this bit under here. And at the moment, that's not reading a much lighter at all. So I'm going to get some white. See, again, the fun of sketching, and I always see sketching as the artist's playground. What can you do? What's going through your mind? What do you want to play at? What do you want to, experiment with? And that's what sketching is all about. It's play, experimentation. And yes, I think I've said in the Art Academy the fact that your sketchbook is your playground and your still life setup is your laboratory, because that's where you're doing more than just experimenting. In your still life setup, because it's something that you have control of, you can you can be more deliberate in your choice of what you want to do. So you've got control over the lighting, which you don't always do especially if you're sketching outside. You've got control over how you compose things, so you can really have a think about what you're after, what you're looking for. And so it gives you a lot more control, effectively. So what I'm doing now is this is just plain white gouache, and I'm just lightening up that muzzle so it reads much lighter than underneath. I'll probably adjust it slightly because we've got a little bit of that's a bit better. And I'm going to put a little bit more white on this side as well. And because, again, like I was saying before, gouache is opaque, it's kind of covering over some of those pen marks. We've still got some showing through, but they're not quite as detailed as they were, which means that you can really lighten some stages up. So that's now reading much lighter than the rest. And because we're still using the same sort of marks, we're going in the same directions as the fur is. It's giving that lovely feel of movement, of messiness, which I think is rather sweet. And what I do know is that I want that bit to be a bit darker, I think. And this is coming over a mix. The white is mixing in a bit with the pencil. So it's not pure white. Although I do want a little bit of lighter on this bit over here. I'm going to go back into that carrot and see if we can get another highlight on there. A little bit of blue added often pops those highlights up as well. If you're doing highlights in an eye, for example, the whites of the eye are often more sort of a grey, bluey purple than white. So you never just put white in there, you always put something a little bit extra in as well. I'm going to put a little bit of extra white over the edge of that nose there too, to get a little bit of shape. That's kind of cute. I think I've got this bit here. I want to maybe darken that. I've got some black gouache here. Let me put some black in here and just bring this around a bit. Just where we've got the darkest darks, I'm going to put a little bit of the black gouache just over our pen marks. Again, really kind of accentuating the fact that we've got these darker areas. These are our darkest darks. I'm going to put that as well in these eyes because this eye has been lost a little bit. And it's beginning to look like a rabbit. When I started doing pet portraits, I used to get so stressed because I'd be so worried that the animal wasn't going to look like, the owner's beloved Fred or whoever. And my kids would forever say, oh, it looks all right for a rabbit. It's a red setter. But jokingly, because then I'd de-stress, calm down a little bit and go, oh, yeah, you're right. It's fine. It looks like what it should do. I'm just going to add a bit onto this carrot to, again, just help with that shadowed area just under it. The good thing about these brushes as well is you can use them to just kind of blend a little bit. So just wet, you can reactivate the layers underneath and kind of make that look a little bit more defined, or more, not defined, smooth. That's the word. And I'm now going back in with my pencil again, and I'm just going to darken some of these shadows. Just for the last few minutes. We've got 10 minutes left. Oh my God, how did that hour go so fast? That's ridiculous. Ugh. This is what happens when you start sketching and you start enjoying yourself and you forget the time. So if you have any questions in the last few minutes, let me know in the chat. And of course, if you wish to join us, there's the Smart Sketching Club, which is a little email prompt once a week. There's the Smart Art Academy, always lovely to see people. And of course, I've got I'm over in the UK in the next couple of weeks, and I'm running 3 workshops, one for the Milton Keynes Art Society, one for the U3A over in Milton Keynes. You can see where I'm basing myself for a little while. And a full day sketching workshop where we'll be making a sketchbook, as well as learning lots of things like how to draw people quickly, because when you're out sketching, speed is often necessary, and also it helps gaining confidence too. So to gain that confidence to go outside and sketch, because it can be quite intimidating when you've not done it before. So that's also what we're doing in the workshop, which will be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. So I've just got a little mono eraser here, and I'm just popping in, or taking out rather, the final bits of some highlights, and I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow in this paw just here. It's a bit over bluey, so I'll just knock that back a little bit. Looks quite nice next to the orange, you see. Orange and blue, complementary colours, which of course you knew. I'm just going to, last bit, a little bit more white on that carrot, a little bit more glint in the eye. And what you can do, of course, is for those extra glints, what I do have is a Posca pen. Now these can be a bit OTT, but they're really nice for a real pop of light. And in fact, you can use these with a bit of mixed media. They're really, really super. I also use white gel pens sometimes too. They're good. They feature in my sketching toolbox. That looks a bit like he is a bit of a monster. Let me take that white Posca that I just put on that eye and knock that back a bit. Put a bit of brown in there, and then a bit of black over the top of that. There we go. Because you can't actually, there's no real highlight there. What I will do is put a bit of blue in, and I can put a bit of blue. Blue is another thing that's great for highlights of eyes, because of course it's the water effect. I'm going to add actually a little bit more. That's going to come down here a little. There we go. That's a bit better. Well, I think we've got 6 minutes to go. I can quite happily play with this some more, because I keep seeing bits to play with. So putting some white on that area. What you can do if you want something to look highlighted, another thing that you can do, which I play at regularly, is, as we've done on this side, add something dark on the background. It then makes that light light up that little bit more. In fact, I probably could take this pour a little bit further up, because actually that white does go further. And white being opaque means I can put it over the lines of my black pen. I'm just kind of dabbing that over, making it opaque. We've got some white on here too. None of this white is showing up as white because, as I said before, we've got lots of things underneath there that's kind of layering that up. I think actually I want to bring that pen a little bit further. Let me just dab that dry a minute. It kind of goes a little bit more that way, doesn't it? And even though you can't see a smile on this bunny, I'm going to put a little one in. Because why not? The great thing about art is it's yours. You can do what you wish. I'm just putting in just a little to break up that line. Oh, that probably doesn't look actually as good as I thought it was going to do. That's sad. I will put a little bit of white over the top and just knock that, the bit that I've just put on, I'm going to knock back a little bit so it's not quite as dark. Good thing about permanent liner is you can paint over the top of it, a bit like oils. There's some interesting little white flicks there, which I might get with a bit of a Posca. Oh no, that's not wet, that's still dry, wet rather. Let me dry that off a bit. And you can use your Posca to do some highlights. This is what again, I really like mixed media because you can kind of really do all sorts of things with it. Now they look very kind of stark at the moment, and we can use gouache just to soften those down a bit. I like Posca, but it is a bit much. So without having anything in my brush, before the Posca dries completely, I'm just going to soften it. Just blend it slightly, soften the ends so they don't look like they're just plastered on the bunny rabbit, that they are actually within the fur. Just soften those ends with a dry brush or a slightly wet brush, just so that they don't look, like I say, quite so intense. We want them to be there and we want them to have a little highlight, but we want them to look as if they are part of the initial drawing, not something that's stuck on afterwards. There we are, always adding extra bits of medium. Right, we are at 8 o'clock. I will stop because I will quite happily carry on forever. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and it's been useful. Let me turn the reference off. Boop. There's my little rabbit. I'll turn, where's the cam link? There we go. And, you don't want two of me. There we are. Turn that off. No, that's turned yellow. Where's the off button? There we go. And move it out of the way. I hope you've had a good time. My pleasure. It's been lovely to do this again. I will be doing these every month. So the first Thursday of every month, there'll be a live sketch along. If you're a member of the Academy or the Sketching Club, drop me an email if there's a subject you would like doing. This was a subject suggested by one of our Academy members who wanted something a little bit Easterish. So that is the finished little sketch in an hour of a little toy bunny, and hopefully you'll have some ideas on fur and colours that you can use and everything else. Right, I'm going to release you all into the wild. Have a fabulous evening, and I'll see you on another sketch along. Okay, bye.